I'm trying to think what it must be like to be a YouTuber right now. It's horrible. Hello and welcome to the pilot episode of Come Internet with Me, where a guest comes and tells me to search for something on the internet and we go down the rabbit hole together. My first guest in this pilot episode will be, let's find out. Look at that. Suggested search. Andrew Dana Hudson. Let's have a look about him. Andrew Dana Hudson is a speculative fiction writer and sustainability researcher. His stories have appeared in Slate, Future Tense, Lightspeed Magazine, Vice, Terraform, MIT Technology Review, Grist, Little Blue Marble, The New Accelerator, and more, as well as various books and anthologies. His non-fiction writing has appeared in Slate, among others. He is a member of the Curse 2020-21 class of the Clarion Workshop. And if you could start your camera now and join me, Andrew, it's good to see you. How you doing, man?
Hey.
You all right?
Good. Yeah. I feel like I should update that. I think we're going not with the branding of being the cursed class, but of the ghost class is our new
your new identity.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Though I do think we are cursed for sure. as is everyone else on the planet.
The 2020 energy.
Yeah.
So, what do you reckon to the show? And what do you think? Or what have you brought? What are we interneting?
So the other day I saw a video, and I don't know where I saw it, of I think it was in Germany, a train that is like hangs from the rails. That seemed like it was I got the impression that it was like an old contraption, like had been around since the early 1900s. And maybe just in one town, but it's sort of like an elevated train, but instead of being elevated and then on top of the rails, it was like hanging from them. And so anyways, I saw that video and it was very striking, but I didn't go on to search more. And so I figured we could try to find that again, and then also see what else we could find about hanging trains in general.
Okay.
How does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds really good. It's a good one to start with. Excuse me while I just get comfortable for the internet binge that we're about to embark on.
Internet posture, so important.
Yes, good posture. I need a better chair, that's for sure. If you want to see more of these shows, you can go to thejmo.net/support and give me some money. That would be really good. It helps keep this show on the road, or will keep this show on the road. That's called a call to action, by the way. Okay, German hanging. Oh, look at that. We're not the first to go here.
All right.
Let's have a look at the images. Is it this thing? Which one,
it's
though?
this thing. I don't know. I think they might all be the same one.
Well, let's have a look.
Maybe not, but yeah, I'd never seen this thing before, and it's quite interesting.
This thing looks a bit more classic, and then there's this one as well. Let's visit the website.
The video I saw, I think, showed two versions of the train, like a modern one, and then the one that was sort of made to look old timey.
Suspension railway. This thing.
Yeah, Wuppertal. That's right.
You can't hear that, can you?
I was hearing a little bit.
Yeah, it was probably coming through my mic. Share computer sound. There we go. Important Zoom learning.
Mm-hmm.
Right, let's just also do that too. Let's watch this video first. That's pretty cool. Who's this guy as well? Let's just open this thing. You know, it reminds me of the scene in Metropolis.
Yeah, I mean, I keep thinking of like the monorail at like Disney World or something like this, but you know, I mean, it just got me thinking, like, why do you occasionally, like, at theme parks, you know, and on roller coasters have a very interesting, you know, rail technology that never gets used in cities, right? Cities seem to all just be the traditional, you know, sitting on top rail.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we could look up later as we go down why monorails never took off, I guess. So it's the oldest electric elevated railway hanging in cars, the world unique system.
It's
in
electric
Germany.
too. That's cool.
Ordered first to the cities of Berlin,
They turned it
Breslau,
down.
and Munich.
Man, 1901 though, that is so long ago for to have an electric rail system. That's very cool.
A railway line, growth of the original cities, the measure. Still used as a normal means of public transportation. I bet they get loads of tourists as well, though.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, infrastructure nerds. Oh, here we go. Had a forerunner in 1824. Railway system, which is differed. Seen his own steel mill in. Got a demonstration of the segment. I wonder if there's any of this.
Yeah, I want to see the original,
Yeah.
or the OG.
Oh, he's got a nice stained glass window. We can look at that as well. So monorails, here we go. Palmer made a patent application in 19 for the elevated single. Oh man,
Even earlier one in
we're
Russia.
we're already on the rabbit hole.
Yeah, I want to know how far back the monorail goes.
Right, that's in the dictionary. Palmer wrote in a study presenting his system. So what we should probably do at this point is have a look at the patent application by this guy. Do anyone Google patents? Is that what it is? Is that how it works? Do I need to go to Google? Patents. Here we go. Google patents. No, that's Bath University.
Scroll back up.
There we go.
Yeah. Oh, interesting that it lists him as an inventor or something.
Nope, it doesn't look like.
Yeah, no, you choose the inventor one, right?
No results found.
Oh.
There's this thing, Grace Guide, Let's have a look. What have we got here? Here we go. British engineer designed the first monorail system, and he invented corrugated iron.
Oh.
Wow. Educated academy run by his father. He was apprenticed. Founded the Institution of Civil Engineers. Good on him. So he founded it, and then 2 years later, he formally became a member. He wrote a short book, Description of a Railway on a New Principle. Not sure about using this Brave browser. Let's have a look. Do you think it's on archive.org? Let's have a look for the book. Here we go.
There it is.
The wonders of the internet. Oh, wow, look at that.
I love the care in drawing the foliage.
Of course,
Yeah, that's the perspective.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it's very clearly like a monorail. It looks, I mean, as we read earlier, it's for transporting coal. So
it's interesting there. Wait, zoom back in. Is there like a break in the monorail that like?
No, I think it's where the page isn't
swings?
scanned properly.
No, on the left.
Oh, there.
What's going on with that? Does it like close?
I don't know. I guess we can find out. Let's have a look.
Yeah, do we have more?
Stanford Library. Blah, blah, blah. Contents. Observations on railways. Nice. The importance of inland communication is so generally acknowledged that no arguments need to be added in favor of an attempt to promote it. Don't know. I reckon some information theorists would probably disagree. Carrying of raw material. What have we got here? Connection. Oh dear. The first principle in which a railway excels a public road is an arrangement of the plane intended for the surface. The second, the surface itself, as being more hard and smooth. Railways are constructed in various forms as respects and dimensions and shapes of their parts. Right. The tram road, usually flat. Observations.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so I mean, the point he's making is that you have to do a lot of work to like create a flat trail, right, without much grade and without much.
As every bend
and doesn't tilt, right?
Yeah, as every bend occasions considerable resistance, and that the proportion of the weight conveyed, blah blah blah. Sure, he's making the argument that he should probably be hanging stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
If one general plane be more effectual than another, the parts of it are of like importance.
You know, I wrote a whole bit in the book I'm writing, where they sort of talk about the mechanics. They're trying to figure out if the elephant that he's sort of investigating might have left the city secretly, and is like, well, and do you always check the tickets and these sorts of things with his friend who works on the rails on the sort of at Penn Station. And it sort of explained to him that like, yeah, they, if a human sneaks on the train or like doesn't get his ticket checked, it's like whatever, right? It's just another button in the seat, and unless they're really full, it doesn't matter. But the elephants like weigh so much that they change the weight distribution in ways that like cause derailments, and if they aren't sort of accounted for. So anyhow, it's just got me noodling that maybe all this should be, maybe I should have them be using monorails instead. Though I suppose monorails, the weight may become even more important, right? Because you're pulling as opposed to just getting to sort of press on, just it's supported by the normal force, right?
I saw a little bit just now on that railways become difficult with heavy loads on tight bends when I was flicking through this.
Yeah.
Aha, here we go. Is this like an engraving? They didn't really come out, did they, in the scan? Those plates. You know, I was talking with someone in the the infrastructure club Slack that I'm in, and we were talking about the new signs that they have on some of the trains in the UK that tell you which carriages are busy. So it'll be like, oh, carriage 6 is busy and carriage 3 is medium busy, and they do it in like, I can't remember if it's like 3 little stick men, 2 and 1 with a red, amber, green system. But another major railway is bringing that in I think it's Southeastern, and they do that by weighing the train against what they know like the normal load is, and that's how the software works to you know, to figure out like who's on the train. So that was good. Let's go back to this guy, Henry Robinson Palmer. Monorails. Monorail, all right, we've still got the monorail in Russia to look up. Palmer wrote the study presented the charge of carrying raw material to the manufacturing district. I think I already read that out. The leading problem is to convey a given quantity of weight between 2 points at the least possible expense. So the first horse-powered elevated monorail started operating at Chestnut on the 25th of June, 1825. It also used to carry passengers. Frederick Harcourt, was he the guy that designed this one? Yes, it is. Okay.
Okay.
So he had a demonstration track of Palmer's system built by his steel factory in Elberfeld, one of the main towns.
I wonder, like, how much it feels like those, 19th century sort of inventor industrialist people were always just sort of going to random towns and setting up like enormous, never before tried pieces of infrastructure. Like Tesla, like Tesla's towers and things like that. And just like, I mean, I wonder how like rigorous the discussions or the negotiations or like the permitting process was, or like did you just sort of have to pay off the mayor and then all of a sudden everyone in town is like, there are these giant like steel beams over our town, what the fuck?
I mean, there is, and also there's like the arc lights as well. There's still towns in the US, right, that are lit by arc lights at night.
Yeah.
Well, there's 1 or 2 left.
I think so, there's Colorado, right?
I don't know. You tell me.
I mean, Tesla did his sort of like notorious, like went to Colorado and like lit up some towns in exchange for getting to like use the power for his experiments or something.
There's something about the aesthetics of like that period as well. I mean, in the UK, we're very lucky because a lot of our train stations still have like all of that kind of Victorian girder, steel girder aesthetics. And so does this monorail as well, like in this video. Oh wait, that was the guy who likes filming trains. But yeah, like this aesthetic is very
right
of an era in terms of construction.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if it's, I mean, clearly those kinds of steel beams are still, still work. I wonder.
It's obviously got to be like the invention of a different kind of steel.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder how would it look if it were created today?
I think I spelled that wrong. Yeah. World steel production, history of steel. Early iron. Railway. Enormous pressure on the iron industry, which struggled with inefficient production process. Steel was still unproven as a structural metal. 1856. And when was this built? 1824. So, oh wait, no, that was the Forerunner. When was this built? Oh yeah,
Not like
1901.
1901.
So
Yeah.
that one would have been, his original one would have been iron, and then so the new steel process
Mm-hmm.
happened in 1856, which then made a lot of this stuff possible. The open hearth process, birth of the steel industry, electric arc furnace steel making. Do you know, I was reading a thing recently about how as yet there isn't any renewable technologies built that can get us to the point where we can make steel, like to efficiently get stuff up to temperatures of like 18,000,
Oh yeah.
1800 degrees C.
Yeah.
And it
I mean,
was a question about like, it was fossil fuels after, what was the article I was reading? It was like the fossil fuels after transition, I think was the paper I was reading. And it was really interesting because like stuff like paracetamol, acetaminophen or whatever it is you call it over there, like,
mm-hmm.
and there's loads of medications that require hydrocarbon, like down chain hydrocarbons. And yeah, it was really interesting because they were like, oh, if we start valuing oil really highly in the transition future, it means that the cost of medicine could possibly go way up if we start like carbon counting that sort of stuff per pill.
Well, it is interesting that we put I mean, oil is clearly like, fossil hydrocarbons are clearly one of the most useful substances on the planet. And we put ourselves in a terrible position because our most common use of it is we just burn it for heat, which is just a terrible and inelegant thing to do, when we can use this stuff to make medicines and plastics and all kinds of substances, right? But instead we're just like, no, chuck it in the cars. And now we're in the position of feeling like, well, because we so often burn it in the cars, like the whole substance is like toxic for us, as to even have access to. So yeah, I mean, I think clearly right. I mean, after transition, like if we could get off oil as a fuel source and keep it around as like a way to continue making various substances.
I mean, I'm pretty sure we'll find hydrocarbons in space. Like all of those reports that you read about hydrocarbons. I mean, I'm not fully sure about it, but like, doesn't that mean oil?
Maybe. I mean, oil is like really complex hydrocarbons.
Yeah,
right?
That's true. That is true.
Where
I mean, we might
like
find
a lot of
specifics.
hydrogen and a lot of carbon strung together.
Yeah.
Whereas just like one hydrogen, one carbon, not as much juice. But yeah, I mean, and the other thing though is I think, in chemistry, if you have enough energy, you can do pretty much whatever you want, right? So if we had sufficiently abundant solar power, for instance, it's like really not that big a deal technologically to have an installation that just churns out hydrocarbon fuels.
Specific bits.
That are basically the same as the oil that we dig out of the ground, right? So I mean, that's one of the exciting things is this idea that you could have direct air capture with big solar installations in remote locations, and some of that gets turned into hydrocarbon fuel. So we're going to have to put a ton of it just back into the ground too. All right. Climate diversion concluded.
Well, we could go on a massive Google, but let's stick to the railway for now. So how long is it?
Oh, yeah, good question. 13 kilometers.
13, and that's good. Well spotted. 12 meters above the river. Yeah, this person says Happy Metropolis. Here we go. The History of Toy Monorails. Photographic history of toy monorails and similar types of toys. This includes one-of-the-kind prototypes of rare monorail toys. Wow. Well, there's a book that someone should buy. It's on Kindle.
Gotta get those illustrations. You need one of the fancy Kindles for that.
I wonder.
What was it? Just the images show us?
Yeah, this is cool. What have we got here? Yeah, that looks cool. I hate Pinterest. It just like infects the web images.
It makes it very hard to do anything with them. Yeah.
History of the monorail. We should probably have a look at that as well while we're there. That's cool. What I actually wanted to find though was the Metropolis city. Yeah. It's got these things in the movie. Oh wait, maybe they are on top. Oh yeah, look, they're on top.
Are those little roadway? Oh yeah, no, they're on top. Yeah.
It's been years since I've seen that movie though.
But I mean, still wild. That's right. I forgot that they've got these. The planes are just flying through between the buildings and stuff.
And the blimps.
Yeah.
I love how what's it called? The tower in New York that has the blimp landing spot. What's the tower called? I mean, I've only been to New York twice.
I don't know.
The one with the big pole at the top.
Well, we should Google it.
Yeah. New York Tower.
Blimp
landing.
Yeah. I remember there was a whole bunch of that.
Yeah, look. See?
Like, oh, is it just the Empire State Building?
Has a blimp. Yeah, look here.
Yeah, that's the Empire State Building.
How it was originally designed to have blimps landing.
That's so cool.
Look at that.
Wasn't there was a bunch of that stuff in Stan Robinson's New York book, right?
Yeah.
The
dirigible
landing
or whatever.
And he had that character who had the blimp that did the sort of like eco tours for her web show and
live
she would,
streaming
come back to New York and he had an e-girl as one of his characters and we'd come back and tie up on her on her building where she had her sort of like plucky apartment building family or whatever. There was also like a blimp thing in Dr. O's Walkaway, right? It was like
I still haven't read it much.
Oh, you should read it.
I took it all around Asia with me and still didn't get time to read it.
Well, the opening, the characters, a couple of the main characters are guys who are like sort of feeling very listless and pathetic after the crash of the blimp boom.
Okay.
That they got really into, and so it's interesting. Like you could clearly write a whole book about blimps and in this future and the reasons that Dr. had imagined that they became a thing. But he sort of said it like post all that. I mean, the blimps come back later, but he sort of starts you off feeling like the era of the blimp has been and gone.
Yeah. I actually did a whole bunch of research. Here we go. Here's 4 things. Maybe it was in this one. I don't know. So I've got the history of like, I've got the collection of like the first time anyone ever imagined bombs being dropped on a city. And it's like a, here we go. The aerial ship. So let's have a look at the quote. God would never surely allow such a machine to be successful, since it would create many disturbances in the civil and political governments of mankind.
I mean,
where is
true.
The man who can fail to see that no city would be proof against surprise, as the ship could at any time be steered over squares or even over courtyards of dwelling houses and brought to the earth for the landing of its crew? And then here we go. So this was in 1670, and he was like, allowing the aerial ship to descend from the high air to the level of their sails. Their cordage could be cut, or even without descending, so low iron weights could be hurled to wreck the ships and kill their crews. Or they could be set on fire by fireballs and bombs. So that's from above.
Mm-hmm. So wait, did he imagine
like
the hot air balloon?
I think
or
there's
was
an
it just
introduction.
Like regular ship, but it flies? Like was it a sort of a fantasy, magical sort of or was he sort of working with the known physics?
It was a dream.
Hot air rising.
That he had. Yeah, so he was a pious Jesuit. Is this the same? Yeah. Okay. So towards the end of the 14th century, blah blah blah. Here we go. Towards the end of the 14th century, the noble family of Lana de Terenzzi emigrated from Bermagano and settled in the city of Brescia. Here, in a house of whatever still in existence, that was born in December 1631 to the Count, blah, 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 was the guy who was destined to make his name imperishable in the history of aerial navigation. Then we have his school days, Jesuit college. And then he taught at school. It's been years since I was reading about this. And then from his time onward, he entirely devoted himself to his scientific research and held no other appointment. Pursuing, however, where is it? Let's have a look. Somewhere down here, it'll be about the dream. The vacuum airship was his.
Vacuum airship.
picture published at
Oh,
Barcelona in 1678 also shows Lanna's airship, which should serve to separate the gas introduced from above from the air as it was expelled below. I mean, it was just his idea, right?
so I mean, so he understood the sort of that you could make the ship lighter than air, and was like, well, the way to do that is just create a big vacuum chamber.
Yes, I think so. And then it expelled. I think it might be. I think that's how he. I think that's what it says. Yeah, is that he was imagining
And then
that it
you
would be a vacuum,
get
so it
a
would be.
right, and you get a little jet or whatever to push yourself around.
Yeah,
That's interesting. I mean, the basic principle is right. I mean, having hydrogen in there is as close as you get to having nothing, right?
let's have a look to see if we can find a picture. The vacuum airship. I didn't want to
Yeah, the
use
vacuum
Chrome, but here we
airship.
go. There it is. I should have put it in a document like years ago. Haha. I mean, he's not that far off, really.
He's got sort of the he understands that you need to sort of hang from below. I think he overestimates how effective sails would be
Yeah,
when you're in the 3 dimensions,
it's
right?
very Ghibli though.
It is.
He
Yeah.
attempted in vain to raise funds to construct his vacuum tube airship.
Oh.
Oh, and that was in 1886. This guy. So around the same time as they were building monorails, this guy, Arthur de Balset, was it trying to. I mean, it was before planes, so.
Well, when did the actual first blimps come around?
Aha! So I think I have that in here. Oh, that's first.
Dynamite balloon?
Yeah.
Wait, no, you gotta show me the dynamite balloon.
Proposed dynamite balloon of 1885. Does it link to who? Can you see what articles that this is linked to? I don't know how Wikipedia works when we're this deep.
Maybe higher up?
File usage.
Yeah.
Transferred images. Where's the page here?
Humanity.
I think it might be orphaned. Like, I don't think it's connected to a. Yeah, I don't think it's connected to an article. Not that I can see
What
anyway.
a picture, though.
Yeah. I think I have the first balloons. Johannes Kepler wrote a fantasy reimagined Journey to the Moon.
So was the principle of the dynamite balloon was that it was basically a hot air balloon or an airship, but you propelled it by just like setting off a bunch of dynamite nearby?
Yeah. So what I found, this is something that I was going to write that never did. So essentially what I was looking at was thinking about drones, like quite heavily, about how drones like just drone, you get droned out of the blue. And I was
You do
thinking
get
about like
droned.
that fear of bombs falling from the sky sort of thing. So that was how like it's interesting how in the original construction of the aerial ship in this guy's mind, I don't think I have in this research the first balloon, but I was reading about this recently, 1783. And I was reading about it because I was reading about like the political stuff on the run up to the French Revolution. Yeah. Unmanned balloons, blah, blah, blah. First manned flight. Oh, I was reading, this was a couple of weeks ago. For some reason, I came across like eyewitness accounts of people talking about the first balloon flight who were there.
What did they make of it?
They were just like, oh, it was crazy. Do you know what I mean? They were just like, oh, they went up in the air.
I've never seen that before. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really wanted to
So the
this
first
year
military
go to
use of a hot air balloon happened at the Battle of... Here we go.
in New Mexico, sort of next door to Arizona, they have this giant hot air balloon festival, and I really wanted to go this year, and a friend of mine was like going to drive down, but it turns out it was canceled and won't be until next October. So, but apparently it's quite a sight.
I was trying to think of a joke about balloons, but it's fine. I'm not, the joke that I came up with didn't work, so I'll continue.
I wonder how much a hot air balloon is, right? I mean, it seems like private people do occasionally own them, just like some private people own small planes and...
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure from stuff that I read on the internet. What do I need to fly a... I think you just need like navigation license and stuff. I'm gonna have a look what it is in the UK.
How to buy a balloon.
Here we go. Like if you want to fly a...
It's like $40,000. And propane for one flight will set you back $50.
That's pretty expensive when you think about it.
Yeah, oh, totally. Especially because I don't think the flights are that long, right?
So if you want to, yeah, that's exactly what I thought. You have to, in the UK, if you want to do a balloon, you need to do 50 hours of flight time and 50 takeoffs and landing. Have passed a proficiency check.
There's a movie on Amazon or something a while back that was all set on some dramatic scientific stratospheric hot air balloon flight, and the trailers show them all sort of like dangling from the ropes and climbing the side of the balloon. And
yeah, wasn't that like wasn't that going around, wasn't that like a Cirque du Soleil sort of thing where they like, but it's like a public performance where they will hang off the ropes as the balloon goes out of control. Wasn't there a video that was like going around?
Maybe. I mean, I'm thinking of a movie that was like about some scientific expedition. It had the guy who plays the really sort of like unexciting lead in the sort of Harry Potter spin-off movies, I think.
Oh, I have no idea. I'm afraid.
The guy plays like Newt Scamander or whatever his name is. Anyway.
Yeah, but so this is the first military use of an air balloon was at this.
Oh yeah, I see it in the background there. Were they dropping stuff or just sort of observing?
Let's have a look.
Signaling the...
You see, how useful would it have been if I'd actually completed the research at least for that thing that I was going to write, and I could have just pulled out that document like magic and been like, "Bah."
Well, but then we would just be reciting your research. We wouldn't.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah,
exactly.
It's fine. Let's have a look. Allied. Let's search for balloon. Reconnaissance balloon.
Yeah. See, that's what I figured, right? Like
it influenced the result of the battle. And I don't think I wrote that down because I was looking for people dropping bombs, which is why I got to like the dynamite balloon stuff. But what I found was really interesting is that like my general argument from reading this stuff is that you've also got like Tennyson writing about I think in 1842 here he's having like a vision of the First World War.
Mm-hmm.
Heard from the heavens filled with shouting that there rained a ghastly dew from the nation's airy navies grappling in the central blue.
Wow.
I saw the heavens fill with commerce of magic sails, pilots of purple twilight dropping down with costly bales. and then there's the dynamite balloon. But then there was something about the First World dynamite balloon is also a very good word to say over and over again. But there's a thing about, I think, that the coming of the First World War was they knew it. They knew it was coming because the 1899 Hague Conference, peace conference, it was put on the record of the dropping or shooting of any projectiles or explosives from the air during a time of war was forbidden and considered a crime of war. It was also decided that airplanes could only be used for reconnaissance or spying missions. And that was in 1899, the Hague Convention. Yeah. And then the Americans said, no, we can do precision bombing, which is still the same argument they make today about drone warfare.
That's so good.
I know. Like, yeah, that's a whole rabbit hole in itself, because like there's a whole bunch of stuff about like chemical warfare, and hollow point bullets are like banned in like 1899. And yeah, I mean, obviously all of that stuff gets
and uranium depleted shells, or depleted uranium shells. Yeah. I mean, I guess I do find it very interesting, this like sense people had that the Great War was coming. I mean, wasn't that even like a plot point in some of those Victorian movies? Like, I feel like one of the, or not, movies about the Victorian era, like one of the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes movies, or maybe like the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen or something. Part of the plot is like the weapons of the new age that are going to be deployed to great sort of profit when the Great War finally comes, right?
Yeah.
And it's all taking place in like 1899. If we go back, don't we also see people predicting like metal birds flying, and in like the Mayan prophecies and revelations or something like that, right?
I mean, you have the in the Ramayana.
In the Ramayana,
the flying Vimana, which is described as well. It's also could be a UFO as well.
Yeah,
like that's what that's also one of the other interpretations of this kind of description.
Isn't it just great here in the Kali Yuga? Just best time. I love it.
Yeah.
Couldn't be happier.
So we're just going. This is like some photos of that thing. I mean, where should we go next? It's up to you.
Well, so I want let's find the video, and I feel like it was at maybe it was like the MoMA. But would you search for that train, the Wuppertal train, and like MoMA or museum, and see if we get the video that showed the side by side that someone had sort of faked up?
This thing? Is this what you saw?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. fearlessassassins.com forums, military community since 2000. Multi-gaming community since 2000.
There it is. Yeah, I don't know where I saw this. It might have been like Reddit GIF or something.
Yeah, that's amazing. Is that
full screen that?
Is that like up-res, do you think? Like 4K?
I don't know. I mean, is the left version?
Yeah, it's got to be one of those things where they like, take the frames and upscale it to 4K with AI.
Or is it just like faked? Is it just sort of imagine what it would have looked like?
No, I think I saw that this footage. We can have a look in a sec, but I think there's like...
I want to see the original.
Well, that house is...
It looks basically the same, right? I mean, obviously, you've got cars down there.
Yeah, that house is still there.
But the monorail itself is pretty much exactly the same.
Although, are we on the same track? I think, the camera's in a different place, isn't it?
guess I did not realize that they had, movie recording that you could set up like on a train like this back in, well, I guess it would, well, yeah, back in 1902.
Okay, let's find the original. Yeah, I mean, I think this is the original video, and I think it's, yeah, the colorized upscale to 4K.
Yeah.
So the original looked like that, and I assume it was like variable speed from the hand crank. So
Right. But they made it look,
it gets
even.
interpolated, and then
Yeah, that's cool. That's a very cool project. Um, and it's very striking to see these sorts of past, very old films colorized, right?
There's some. I watched a video recently. Let's see if I can find it. 4K upscale working class British.
Fast 9 trailer. It is in 4K.
Maybe it's not 4K. Let's have a look. Upscaled working class film footage, black and white. No, I saw a video recently of these, of like, it was really early workers up north in the UK, and it was like upscaled to be really high res, and the people's faces, obviously it was like what an AI thought those blurry faces looked like, but still, I mean, it really brought it to life for me. So we don't need to know about Henry Robertson anymore. The monorails in Russia. I did have a quick look while you were talking earlier on. First monorail, a road on pillars. I mean, that's a good. Poor guy could not find any more investors working on his project. Electric monorails in the Ukraine.
Didn't someone have like a horse-drawn idea for them or something?
Well, yeah, it says that the early ones were horse-drawn, and so was Henry Palmer's first test one was horse-drawn as well.
Wait, so were the horses up there as well, I guess? Or were the horses down below?
Oh man. Maybe. Yeah. There's a horse-drawn monorail.
Oh.
I mean, it looks precarious, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean,
look, is this a horse-drawn monorail? No, that looks like a tram.
I guess I am, like, now I'm curious, like, I mean, I started off this being like, we never see all these interesting other rail technologies, but now I'm like, wait, why wouldn't you just use 2 rails? Like, why the monorail? What's the,
look at that thing?
Wow. But like, what's the advantage? Versus 2. I mean, I guess I see the hanging, right? That makes sense to me. Where
here we go. We're getting sold a monorail right now.
Yeah.
Carbon-free monorail itself uses no carbon-based fuels. The electricity used to power the locomotive may come from a gas or coal-fired power station, which does not does produce pollution. But as the use of alternate energy increases, this problem will be reduced. Here,
Well,
here.
sure. Yeah, that's
Safety and reliability. Monorails run on elevated tracks. There is no risk of cars getting stuck at crossings. There's a reduced risk of pedestrians for the same reason. The monorail itself. What I really want to know is that the monorail boom that the Simpsons pastiche in that in that. Monorails are practically silent.
Well, clearly the Wuppertal one was not, but
all right, let's say, why don't people build monorails? But I also think, I remember having a discussion with the founder of Padaris, which is the infrastructure software. I'll quickly show you what this is. Real-time collaborative transport planning. And it allows you to like plan where you're going to put bike lanes, and it also does all the calculations about the number of people who live in that zone. So it's very similar to some of the stuff that's in sprawl repair, but it does like real-time simulations of what it would mean if you moved a bus stop, like all sorts of stuff like that for helping cities get to grips with implementing
very cool
public transport. It's very cool. But Nathan once told me that he was involved in the autonomous cars that drive on rails that come and pick you up at Terminal 5 in the UK.
I've never seen those.
So we have these at the Heathrow pods.
Oh, the pods, yeah.
Yeah, so he was heavily involved in kind of getting them off the ground, and he said the reason why people don't build these things is because of the Simpsons monorail episode. Like in every single meeting that he was in, it would like come up.
Wait, I don't remember what happened in that episode.
Well, the guy comes to town and he sings the monorail song. Everyone gets excited, and then Homer drives it, and it's like built really shoddily and falls apart.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, there is something about monorails and elevated trains that sort of, I think, are lodged in our mind in the same way that like blimps are lodged with the Hindenburg.
When the leader of Derby City Council floated the idea of building a monorail last week, his suggestion was not as warmly received as he might have been. From jokey references to the Simpsons episode, yeah, I mean, this is the classic thing that I just described. Well, yeah.
They're still doing that. I mean, isn't that in The Incredibles? Like, both movies, there's sort of a stop the speeding monorail thing, right?
Seattle Center monorail. Our monorail is a good idea. Derby isn't the first city to consider a monorail. Monorails are incredibly intrusive. They will get in the way visually, much more than railways, tramways, and indeed buses.
Just because they're lifted off.
Yeah, monorails seem like a good idea until you actually use them. And then you probably think they're a great idea. Christian Warner.
I was doing some reading yesterday or the day before about about the High Line in New York, which I find very interesting. I mean, I visited it, but it really sort of became a fixture of New York after I stopped living there. It kind of, it's really a thing that got added in the last decade, and but I was looking into like, okay, when was the original sort of elevated tracks uh, added in that are now turned into a park and like um, and I mean that was a very interesting. So they talk about how the big impetus to do that was they called it like Death Alley or something, where there was just like constant accidents of like carriages of trains hitting carriages and people and these sorts of things, and that's why they decided to build the elevated, because it was just coming into New York and having to just like cross regular streets and stuff.
Yeah.
And
so that's why we had to build it up.
Yeah. But
I didn't go to the High Line when I was in New York.
When were you last there?
2014, I think. I think it just opened.
That might have been when I was last there or something.
Yeah.
I don't think I have not been back, and I hope to go this year actually, but the Rona makes that impossible mostly. The next year for sure.
So it looks like China, Japan, and India have several monorail networks being built in Australia, Germany, US, and Malaysia. Yeah, look, monorail systems run on elevated tracks. So similar to how you were talking about why they built the High Line.
Yeah.
China, Japan, and India, some of the most crowded cities in the world.
I feel like I've been on a monorail in Thailand, in Bangkok, which is sort of similarly. It might have just been an elevated train, but
high-speed train, monorail, the Gold Line. It says it's under construction. Oh wow, that's pretty sci-fi.
That sort of like fourth, I guess it was just I think that fourth image there is
Phuket monorail. Plan speed up. Well, it's nice to know that people are building these monorails.
Yeah. I mean, and you can also just do like an L train, right? That's not happens to be multi-rail, but still largely elevated.
I mean, I can't get over.
But the dangling thing is a different dynamic entirely too.
Yeah, especially if you could if it was for looking down, I mean, look at that. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. And it goes over the river and
what else have we got? Did we open up? Germany's hanging train, the world's first and only suspended monorail. First and only.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if in future they could retrofit a whole bunch of stuff and have other stuff going over the top, or if that was the beginning, if they were going to build new stuff.
Oh, sort of keep these infrastructures as is, but find a way to add the High Line Park above it or something, right?
Or build new stuff. And I mean, look at that.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Or build new infrastructure and have multiple things and have a hanging monorail underneath, because why not?
Yeah.
That's cool. Let's close that. There was the video that we watched. Let's close that. Coming up
I
to
think
an hour.
In Under the Grid, that one of my stories, we've got rail using this giant grid structure over Detroit, and she sort of takes the line out to sort of the neighborhood where her mom lives, and we don't see too much of the rail, but in retrospect, a hanging monorail seems like just sort of perfect for that. We're gonna just sort of activate the sky space over the urban world.
That's the story that you have about the elderly care and the girl is looking after her mom. Is that right?
Yeah, it's the one where the main character,
What
Ingrid, is,
under the
she's
grid?
sort of like a bureaucrat for and her mom is sort of like a bird lady. Yeah, there we go, small urban, and has filled the sky space using the grid over her home with like bird houses and bird habitats, and is sort of yeah, kind of laid up by
So is
an
this the? Oh, it's
accident.
in
And
Weight of Light. Okay.
yeah, it's in Weight of Light, and she, but she's also getting evicted because and so they have to sort of do basically sort of local organizing at the HOA level to try to like pass rules that account for for the value add of having these sort of having these
Relationships.
these bird habitats there and all that, and so it kind of gets a little bit into the multi-species idea and so on. But it's a story I'm quite proud of because there's kind of like a lot in it, but also is I guess also has kind of like a pretty tight little arc. But yeah, I don't know. I remember Stan Robinson told me it, like he read it and it had too much plot and needed to be, but that's okay.
It was written as an output from a workshop though, right? I seem to remember you saying.
Yeah, we had this very interesting narrative hackathon where we had sort of 4 teams doing different sections of a scenario grid about the future of solar energy, and each team was an engineer, a social scientist, an artist, and a sci-fi writer. And so yeah, very cool book. And we've got the sequel, actually. Here's my plug for the episode. We've got the sequel, Cities of Light, coming out probably in like a month or 2 at the most, which I got to have a hand in sort of organizing and conceptualizing. We did it at the National Renewable Energy Laboratory in Denver, which is extremely cool place to visit. And it's the stories in it are very cool. There's a story by myself that I'm quite proud of, called Solar Shades, that I stole, sort of half stole the name from you and half from Bill Gibson. Or I guess not from Bill Gibson. I guess Mirror Shades was what? That was
The anthology.
A Bruce joint, right?
Yeah.
That was the anthology. And there's also a story by Paolo Bacigalupi, another, which is set in Chicago and sort of with the AI that manages the various sort of renewable and storage kind of combinations and energy needs in Chicago. And they've got these giant weights that are sort of attached to the skyscrapers that are used to store energy, where they have kinetic, the excess wind and solar, and they can lift the weight and then use it to sort of flywheel down and generate energy in the evening. And then there's a story about SB Divya that's set in Puerto Rico, sort of where they've got like jackfruit batteries.
Awesome. That's cool.
For energy storage that they're trying to make happen. And then Deji Olukatun has a story set in San Antonio, Texas, that's about a community going dark sky, where they're gonna sort of turn off all their lights, sort of figure out how to, as a collective, turn off all their lights at night so they could see the sky. And all of these formulated in connection with in collaboration with really interesting social scientists and engineers at NREL. So yeah, I'm quite excited. And my story is set in Portland and feels like all too prescient now that we've got like like militias and leftists like shooting it out on the streets, because there's a bunch of sort of militia
PvP.
Militia gangs sort of preying on refugees and homeless people and this kind of thing. And so
that's out soon.
That's out soon.
And before we sign off, I guess I'll say thanks for coming to Internet with me today.
Yeah, it was fun. The time flew by when you're clicking through tabs and trying to figure out what to Google, and we hit on a lot of interesting stuff. So, and
what else to close the show? I guess where can people find you on the internet apart from your website?
www.andrewdanahudson.com. The one you pulled up is the best. I'm locked down on Twitter at the moment, but if you want to follow me, I'll probably approve requests. I have, I guess my only other thing to pitch is that I have a story that should be out in about 2 weeks, no less than 2 weeks, on the podcast Starship Sofa, about heat waves in India and geoengineering and cat burglars and cults and all kinds of wacky things. So
awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, good to see you, Jay. Thanks for having me on the pilot. All right. Bye.